Alright, let's see what happened tonight with Piglet. What's Piglet's grand thing? There was a disturbance behind the table in the other corner of the room, and Owl was with them again. "Well, Piglet," said Owl, looking very much annoyed. "Where's Pooh?" "I'm not quite sure," said Pooh. Owl turned his voice and frowned at as much Pooh he could see. "Pooh," said Owl severely, "did you do that?" "No," said Pooh humbly, "I don't think so." "Then who did?" "I think it was the wind," said Piglet. "I think your house is blowing down." "Ooh." "Oh, is that it? I thought it was Pooh." "No," said Pooh. "If it was the wind," said Owl, considering the matter, "then it wasn't Pooh's fault. No blame can be attached to him." With these kinds of words, he flew up to look at the new ceiling. "Piglet," called Pooh in a loud whisper. Piglet leaned down to him. "Yes, Pooh?" "What did he say was attached to me?" "He said he didn't blame you." "Oh, I thought he meant—" "Oh, I see." "Owl," said Piglet, "come down and help Pooh." Owl, who was admiring his letterbox, flew again. Together they pushed and pulled the armchair, and with a little while Pooh came out from underneath and was able to look around him again. "Well," said Owl, "this is a nice state of things. What are we going to do, Pooh? Can you think of anything?" asked Piglet. "Well, I had just thought of something," said Pooh, "and it was a little thing I thought of." And then he began to sing. "I lay on my chest, and I thought my best to pretend I was having an evening rest. I lay on my tum and tried to hum, but nothing particular seemed to come. My face was flat on the floor, and that is all very well for an acrobat, but it doesn't seem fair to a friendly bear to stiffen him out with a basket chair. And a sort of squoze, which grows and grows, is not nice for his poor old nose. And a sort of squutch is much too much for his neck and his mouth and his ears and such." "That was all," said Pooh. Owl coughed in an unadmiring sort of way, and said if Pooh was sure that was all, they could now give their minds to the problem of escape. "Because," said Owl, "we can't go out by what used to be the front door, something's falling on it." "But how else can you go out?" asked Piglet anxiously. "That's the problem, Piglet, to which I am asking Pooh to give his mind." Pooh sat on the floor, which had once been a wall, and and gazed up at the ceiling, which had once been another wall, with a front door in which had once been a front door, and tried to give his mind to it. "Could you fly up to the letterbox with Piglet on your back?" he asked. "No," said Piglet quickly, "he couldn't." Owl explained about the necessary dorsal muscles. He explained this to Pooh and Christopher Robin once before, and had been waiting ever since for a chance to do it again, because it is such a thing which you can easily explain twice before anybody knows what you were talking about. "Because you see, Owl, if we could go get Piglet into a letterbox, he might squeeze through the place where the letters come from and climb down the tree and run for help." Piglet said hurriedly that he hadn't been getting bigger lately, and he couldn't possibly, much as he would like to. And Owl said that his letterbox had been made bigger lately in case he got bigger letters. So perhaps Piglet might, and Piglet said, "But you said the necessary you-know-whats wouldn't," and Owl said, "No, they won't. So it's no good thinking about it." And Piglet said, "Then we'd better think of something else," and began to think at once. But Pooh's mind had gone back to the day when it had saved Piglet from the flood, and everybody had admired him so much. And as they didn't often happen, he thought he would like it to happen again. And suddenly, just as it had come before, an idea came to him. "Owl," said Pooh, "I have thought of something." "Excuse me. I have thought of something." "Astute and helpful bear," said Owl. Pooh looked proud as being called a stout and helpful bear, and he said modestly that he had happened to think of it. "You tied a piece of string to Piglet, and you flew up into the letterbox with the other end in your beak, and you pushed through the wire and brought it down to the floor, and you and Pooh pulled really hard at this end, and Piglet went slowly up the other end, and there you were." "And if Piglet is," said Owl, "if the string doesn't break?" "Supposing it does?" asked Piglet, wanting to know. "Then we try another piece of string." That was not very comforting to Piglet, because the many pieces of string to try to pull him up with would always be the same coming down, but still, it did only seem like the only thing to do. So one last look back in his mind at all the happy hours he had spent the forest not being pulled up by the ceiling by a piece of string, Piglet nodded bravely at Pooh, who said that it was a very clever plan. "Oh, my eyes are leaking now." "It won't break," whispered Pooh comfortingly, "because you're a small animal, and I'll stand underneath. And if you save us all, it'll be a very grand thing to talk about afterwards, and perhaps I'll make a song, and people will say it was so grand what Piglet did, and a respectful Pooh song was made about it." Piglet felt much better after this, and when everything was ready, he found himself going slowly up to the ceiling. And he was so proud that he would have called out, "Look at me!" if he hadn't been afraid that Pooh and Owl would let go of the end of the string to look at him. "Up we go," said Pooh cheerfully. "The ascent is proceeding as expected," said Owl, hopefully. Soon it was over. Piglet opened the letterbox and climbed in. And then, having untied himself, he began to squeeze himself through the slit, through which, in the old days, when front doors were front doors, many an unexpected letter that Wall had written to himself had come slipping. He squeezed and squozed, and with one last squeeze he was out. Happy and excited, he turned round to squeak a last message to the prisoners. Adorable pictures of Piglet climbing. Oh my god, so adorable. And a picture there. "It's all right," he called through the letterbox. "Your tree is blown right over, Owl, and there's a branch across the door. But Christopher Robin and I can go move it, and we'll bring a rope for Pooh. And I'll go tell him now, and I can climb down quite easily. I mean, it's dangerous, but I can do it all right, and Christopher Robin and I will be back in about half an hour. Goodbye, Pooh," and without waiting to hear Pooh's answering "Goodbye," and "Thank you, Piglet," and he was off. "Half an hour," said Owl, settling himself comfortably. "That will give me just enough time to finish that story I was telling you about my Uncle Robert, a portrait of whom you see underneath you. Now let me see, where was I? Oh yes, it was just such a blusterous day as this that my Uncle Robert..." And Pooh closed his eyes. Tomorrow we will work on chapter 19, in which Eeyore finds the Woolery and Owl moves into it. Alright, Christy, I love you dearly, and I miss you very much so. Keep calm, keep calm, Fine Llama, carry on, and I'll talk to you soon. I love you, Christy. Good night.